Thank you. Today on Growing Idaho, your thoughts on apartments that turn into thoughts on home buying that result in some good news on the horizon that brings us to a realization that maybe it's not so good news. Let's go on this journey together. First, I did a story on the spike in apartment building in the area recently, and here are some of your takes on social media. A lot of you went right to the root of the issue as you see it, the lack of affordable homes. Haley said, we're seeing more apartments because nobody can afford housing. Karen said, dang, so glad I bought when I did. I couldn't fathom paying as much as people do for a home. Gray said, the problem is multifaceted. Interest rates are very high and home prices are high. Gray is right. Those interest rates are relatively high, but they are at least headed in the right direction. Look at this graph here and look at the blue line. Freddie Mac says the average 30-year loan is now at 6.35%. That's the lowest it's been since April of last year. And while it's still a far cry from the rock bottom 3% rates of a few years ago, they're going to keep dropping. How can I say that? How can I attempt to predict the future? Well, because I'm not really predicting the future. The process to drop those rates even more is already underway. The Federal Reserve controls that key interest rate, which they said they would drop as soon as inflation slowed down enough. And well, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said recently that inflation is where they want it after a very long period of high inflation.
Prior to this episode, most Americans alive today had not experienced the pain of high inflation for a sustained period. Inflation brought substantial hardship, especially for those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials like food, housing, and transportation. High inflation triggered stress and a sense of unfairness that linger today.
Stress and a sense of unfairness. Certainly we've all felt that, but inflation is slow enough that they can finally drop their key interest rate, and mortgage rates follow that key rate, so they will drop even more. And that means housing prices will drop as well, right? Absolutely not. It means the exact opposite. Home prices are actually already pretty high, unfortunately. According to Cinch Home Services, the average homeowner in Idaho spends more than $37,000 a year just on their home. That is 57% of the average take-home household income. That includes your mortgage, maintenance, and your taxes. That is a huge chunk of the average family's take-home pay, and it's 18% more than the national average. But if these rates keep dropping, even if home prices go up, which they will, most people's monthly payments will be lower. Hopefully, unless the market really heats up. Competition for homes spikes, and the prices spike because of it. Cross your fingers, though.
All right.
We'll try to focus on the good news. Rates dropping, Maggie.
Hey, that is good. That is positive. We've been waiting for that. So let's hope things go in our favor, right? For everyone
Maggie,
who wants
you.
to buy
Yes.
a home out there or refinance. Okay, thank you, Justin.